Hey guys, I don't know about you, but I always think about how characters are characterized in games. Because essentially, that's how you relate to them, and essentially how you connect with the characters that you play as or that you encounter. And that's one major contributing factor to what makes a game really great. And of course, on this channel, we often stop and focus on Nintendo and Nintendo Universe. So today, we are taking a look at the 5 best Nintendo characters all throughout the gaming franchises and taking a look at what the 5 best characters all throughout these games really are. So guys, if you're excited about that and want to show your support towards the channel, make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and share this video with a friend or two. With that being said, let's get into it. So starting things off, I feel like I need to talk about one of my favorite characters, one I've always kinda adored, which is Kirby. And Kirby is just one of these characters that is just a fun character. He's very one-dimensional. He's essentially the hero who just travels throughout the region or the map and defeats the kind of grand villain, which is very much a Mario recipe, which we see with a lot of characters throughout the Nintendo franchise. Like, for example, Donkey Kong 2. But what makes Kirby interesting is that he's fucking adorable. That's as deep as I'm gonna go with this. Kirby's just a great character because he's a fun character, and that's what it is. He's just a pink fluff ball of enjoyment. And playing the Kirby games, playing like a character like that, when you have all these serious characters in the Nintendo franchise, that sort of is a fun thing, and Kirby's just a really enjoyable character to play as, really. So that's why, of course it is a shallow reason, but essentially that is why Kirby's at a number 5 spot. Now at the number 4 spot, I decided to put a villain on here. Now, not that there's anything wrong with the Nintendo villains, they're just kinda one-dimensional in my opinion. Like for example, Bowser, while still being really iconic, he just is out to capture Peach and gain power, essentially. King Dedede, he is a king, but of course he wants to keep that power. But beyond that, there's not really much to tell. But one character that I feel is, well, of course, kind of one-dimensional in a lot of aspects, is still really interesting as Ganondorf. Now, that might be because I'm a huge fan of fantasy and I just love when dark magicians just go in there and defeat everything in their way, like for example Voldemort or Sauron. But really, Ganondorf is a reminder of those kind of characters that is just evil for evil's sake. And in a lot of aspects, that's a good thing, especially when you have such a simplistic sort of game, if compared to a lot of other games, like The Legend of Zelda is, the franchise that is, then having Ganondorf as a villain is a good thing in a lot of aspects because he doesn't require much backstory while still having some interesting lore. And if you haven't checked that out yet, I actually did a character overview of Ganondorf and I will link that up here. But he is just a character with a lot of mystery around him, a lot of lore, but still just being a simple character and being evil for evil's sake. And sometimes villains don't have to be that complex. They can just be really sort of simplistic and not that deeply complicated, just, you know, purely evil. And that's what Ganondorf is to me, and that's why he's number 4. interesting in the first place was that she was a female character. Well, certainly not the only thing that makes her interesting. It definitely gave her some edge because you didn't expect that, but it still sort of happened. And it really shows that, like, female characters can do just as much as male characters. And that's why Samus is so great, because she showed that really with a lot of her badassness, because she really is badass. But she made a name for herself, being that sort of staple female character and showing off what a female character should be. And that is to be capable, and that is to be badass, and that is to be just as action ready as any male character would be. And for that reason, I think Nintendo really, I wouldn't say jumped the gun, but they really was ahead of their sort of time with that. So I definitely think that Samus is an iconic character and a very interesting character, because she is, of course, the main lead of a different sort of franchise Nintendo, but still very much fits in. You can't really have Nintendo without Metroid, or maybe you can. That would be an entirely parallel universe though. But just because of these reasons that I have noted, Samus is on the number 3 spot. Now, it would be a crime, it would be an absolute atrocity for me not to include any Pokemon characters. I, of course, am primarily a Poketuber, but I felt like I only want to include one Pokemon character, because I felt like if I didn't do that, then this would just be top 5 Pokemon characters, and I didn't want to do that. So I had to sit down for a while and think about what my favorite character from Pokemon really is. And what I landed on is what I feel like is the most well-developed character in all the Pokemon franchise, and that is N from Pokemon Black and White and Black and White 2. Now, there is primarily one reason for this, and that is because I feel like out of all the characters in the Pokemon franchise, N has the most character development, because he starts off as primarily the villain. He is the head of Team Plasma, and therefore is in your way of wanting to be friends with Pokemon and want to capture and, you know, collect all Pokemon to complete the Pokedex, because Team Plasma's goal is essentially to let Pokemon go and to separate Pokemon and trainers, and that is essentially the antithesis to what you want to do as a Pokemon trainer. But as you find out later on the path, so to say, and spoilers if you haven't played these games, because I'm about to get into some spoilers here, but he turns out to be really the puppet of the main villain Ghetsis, which I considered putting on this list, but then I wanted Ganondorf as a villain. But Ghetsis just being that all-powerful and all-manipulative psychopath, manipulating N to be sort of a villain, really. But as you find out, he really has his morals in the right place. He was just manipulated to believe in the wrong things. And that really shows what kind of power manipulation can have over you, and how much of an influence, of course, like for N, Ghetsis was his father figure. So that really shows with people that have more authority than you, they can really manipulate you and really make you believe things that are sort of twisted and not the actual truth. And of course, with that being said, the main theme of Generation 5 is truth and ideals. Especially for Black and White, that is main theme of the games. And N just portrays this powerfully, because he has ideals of wanting to change the world, but then he realizes that the truth is not what he believed in, and he changes through that. And as you notice in Black and White 2, he is a changed person, and now he helps you because he's realized that he was wrong, but he's ready to change through his mistakes. I know that got really deep just now, but just Ed is such a great character because of that, and he's such a properly developed character, and that's what Generation 5 did well. You can give it all the criticisms that you want, mainly that, like, if the Pokemon are boring in your opinion, or like if the region is plain. But one thing you cannot deny is that Generation 5 did a great job with their characters, and that is especially true for N. So that's why he is number 2 on our ranking, essentially. Now you might call this a cop-out, But you know what? I don't care. At number 1 spot we have Mario, and for one reason only, and that's because he's a main iconic character of Nintendo. He is the face of fucking Nintendo. That's how iconic he is. And just with everything around him, just with how he looks and how he wears his clothes, with being a plumber, and just how he generally acts, has just become really iconic at this point, because he is not only the face of Nintendo, but kind of the face of gaming, if you think about it. I mean, he is, granted, he is probably the most famous, generally famous gaming character for, like, across the whole gaming world. And that just shows how much of an impact he's had. And you can't really have one of these lists without putting him at number 1. And I do love Mario. I just love how he's so iconic and just so, like, Italian, and just his plumber, and just how he constantly has to save Peach, and just how he has to battle against Bowser. All those things are just iconic, and things that you love about Mario. You can't not love Mario. And that is why he is objectively the best Nintendo character. So guys, that is going to be it for this video. What do you think? Do you think that Mario is the best Nintendo character, or do you have another opinion? Let us know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts and to get a discussion going. Also, of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe that subscribe button, and share this video with a friend or two. But with that being said, I'm gonna get the hell out of here, you guys. Thanks for watching. Before, until, and after, see you next time though. You stay awesome.